So to begin today, I will invite you to choose a comfortable position. You may be laying down on your back, sitting, crossed legs. You can recline on a wall. Just find your own way to land into the present moment. Getting comfortable with your position and allowing your body to ground. If you're laying down on your mat or the ground, start to feel your body really heavy, as if it was melting. And if you're sitting down, ground your sitting bones, rooting yourself. And slowly start to soften your face, your shoulders, your whole body. Becoming more aware of your breath with deep inhales and long exhales. Noticing the movement on your belly, rib cage, and chest every time you inhale, receiving the breath, filling up your lungs. And every time you exhale, letting go, releasing tension. Choosing an intention for today's practice. It might be the reason why you're here tonight. It might be something that you want to cultivate for 2025. Or maybe simply to be grateful that all the moving pieces align so that you could be here. Having a moment for yourself, connecting with your body, connecting with your breath. Slowly gather your hands in front of your chest. Take your forehead to your hands, sealing your intention. Release your hands and start to make a circle with your head. Noticing how is your neck, your shoulders, releasing tension if there is any. And if you're laying down, you can bring your head side to side towards your ears. And my friends that are laying down, slowly start to come to a seated position in your own time. And for those who are sitting, find that spot that is a little bit tender on your neck. Stop there. Maybe even take your hand to that area and massage a little bit. Sometimes we're in the pilot mode and we don't even notice that we are holding tension in different parts of our bodies. So let this be a moment for you to connect with your body in a deeper layer, in a deeper level. And start to cultivate this listening. Slowly bring your head back to the center. Inhale, take your hands to the sky. Give your body a nice stretch. Hands to one side, look to the opposite side. Inhale back to the center. Exhale to the other side. Inhale back to the center. One more each side. Feeling that sensation on your side body, grounding yourself through your sitting bones. Inhale, center. And exhale to the other side. Slowly come back to the center. We're going to come to a twist. Place one of your hands on the opposite knee and look above your shoulder. Inhale, grow tall. And on the exhale, try to twist a little bit further. Slowly, both of your hands to the sky. Nice stretch. And on the exhale, twist to the other side. Gently start coming back to the center, and we're gonna come to a tabletop of fours. In your tabletop, hands below your shoulders, knees stacked under your hips. Inhale, sink your belly, tailbone to the sky, look forward. Exhale, round your back, push the ground away, tuck your tailbone. Again, inhale, drop your belly. Exhale, round your back. Inhale, drop your belly. Exhale, round your back. 3 more with your breath. Inhale. Maybe you close your eyes and start connecting with the sensation rather than worrying about how it looks. And throughout the practice, listen to your body first and to me second. If anything feels funny or weird, you can skip or modify. Last round. And slowly come back to a neutral spine. Tuck your toes. Inhale, start making our way to a downward dog with your knees bent. And start stretching one leg at a time. Pushing the ground away. Imagine you're hugging a tree. You have hollow armpits. And you're activating your arms, but at the same time distributing the weight towards your feet so that you're not carrying too much weight on your shoulders. Stop the movement, knees to the ground, make your way to your belly. Hands beside your chest. Inhale, lift up your heart. Baby cobra, push the ground away with the top of your feet. Exhale, head down. Inhale, lift up your heart. Exhale, melt down. 3 more of those. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Last one. Inhale, rise. Exhale, down. Push the ground away. Sit on your heels. Balasana, child's pose. Hold yourself there. Inhale deeply through your nose. Let go through your mouth. Slowly start to rise to a tabletop. Tuck your toes, down dog. Lift up your hips to the sky and back. Open up your chest. Leave a micro bend on your knees. Slowly start walking towards the front of your mat, towards your hands to a forward fold, knees bent. Grab the opposite elbows, crown of your head to the ground. Rock to the sides. Slowly stop the movement, release your arms, and start to come up. Your head is the last one to arrive to a standing position. Open up your chest when you get there. Inhale, hands to the sky. Exhale, fold once again. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, dive, hands to the ground, bend your knees, walk back to your downward dog. Once you arrive there, inhale your right leg to the sky. Exhale, step that right foot in between your hands. If you need help of your hands, use it. Drop your left knee on the ground and tuck your left toes. If this is too much for your knee, bend your mat so that you can support and cushion your knee. Inhale, hands come up to the sky. Exhale, hands to the ground. Slowly start extending your right knee. If you need to, walk with your hands back or use pillows or blocks to give yourself a little height. Inhale, rise up with your hands. Sink your hips. Exhale, forward fold. Just one more. Inhale, rise. Exhale, fold. Slowly bring back your right foot, tabletop. 3 cats and cows in here. Inhale, sink your belly. Exhale, round your back. Inhale, sink your belly. Exhale, round your back. Last one, inhale. And exhale. Beautiful. Back to a neutral spine. Tuck your toes, down dog. Inhale deeply. Let go to your mouth. Inhale, left leg to the sky. Exhale, step the left foot in between your hands. Drop your right knee and tuck your right toes. Inhale, hands come up. Exhale, extend your left leg, forward fold, just your left heel on the ground. Inhale, bend your left knee, rise. Exhale, fold. Last one. Inhale, rise. Exhale, fold. Beautiful. Slowly come forward. Tuck your right toes, lift up your right knee, and bring your right foot to meet the left one in the front of your mat. Forward fold, Uttanasana. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, dive. Inhale, hands to the sky. Exhale, heart center. Ground yourself in here. Take a moment, bringing energy to your feet, lifting up your kneecaps, engaging your legs. Slowly bring your hands up to the sky. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, dive. Walk back, down dog. Inhale. Let go to your mouth. Right leg rises to the sky. This time, bring your right foot behind your right wrist. Pivot your left heel on the ground. And then slowly hands to the sky, warrior one. Hold yourself in here. Feeling strong through your legs. Relax your shoulders. And then bring your hands behind your back. Interlock your fingers, open up your chest towards the ceiling. If you have this space, slowly start to dive forward and maybe your hands comes up towards the ceiling. Release your hands on the ground. Left foot comes forward to meet the right. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, dive. Inhale, hands come up. Exhale, heart center. Inhale, hands rise. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, dive. Hands to the ground, walk back, down dog. Inhale deeply. Let go to your mouth. Inhale, left leg rises. Exhale, left foot behind left wrist. Pivot your right heel on the ground. Inhale, rise up with your hands, warrior one. Slowly, hands come to your lower back. Interlock your fingers in the opposite way. Change the pinky finger. It's gonna feel weird. It feels weird. It feels ill. If it feels weird, it's right. Oh wow, that was a tongue twister. Inhale, open up your chest. Exhale, dive forward. Hands to the sky. Slowly release your hands to the ground. Right foot comes forward, forward fold, exhale. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, dive. Inhale, hands to the sky. Exhale, heart center. This time, let's bring our feet together. Your toes are together, your heels are a little bit apart. Inhale, hands to the sky. Exhale, start to imagine that you're sitting on a chair, but your hands are towards the sky. Utkatasana, chair pose for 3, for 2, and 1. Inhale, rise up to the sky. Exhale, drop your arms alongside your body. Bring your feet hip distance apart. Shake yourself a little bit. Find a place on the ground for you to look. Inhale, hands come up. Relax your shoulders and slowly start to rise, your heels coming to your tiptoes. And this can be enough of balance for you tonight. But if you want to make things a little bit more challenging, try to close your eyes. For 3, for 2, and 1. Ground your heels. Inhale, open up your heart. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, dive, hands to the ground, walk back, down dog. Inhale deeply. Let go to your mouth. Drop your knees on the ground and slowly make your way to your belly. 3 cobras. Inhale, push the ground away, lift up your heart. Exhale, melt down. Inhale, lift. Exhale, down. Last one. Inhale, lift. Exhale, down. Slowly extend your right hand forward. Turn to your left side and come to your back. From here, hug your knees into your chest and rock to the sides. Massaging your back on the ground, feeling your body, noticing all the sensations. Slowly stop the movement. Drop your feet, grounding each other, and bring your arms alongside your body, palms facing down. Inhale, lift up your hips, imagining there's a block in between your knees. Exhale, lower your hips down. 3 more of those. Inhale, rise. Exhale, come down. Inhale, rise. Exhale, down. Last one. Inhale, rise. Exhale, down. Open up your arms in a T shape or a cactus shape. Bring your hips to the right side and then drop your knees to the left side. Your gaze may come to the right. Hold yourself there, 3 breaths. Slowly make your way back to the center and ground your feet. Realign your hips. And then hips to the left, knees to the right, gaze to the left. Inhale, back to the center. Realign your hips. Extend your legs towards the sky. Flex your feet if you need to. Hold the back part of your legs. Or you can also extend your arms. Just keep your shoulders on the ground for 3 breaths. Helping the lymphatic system. Allowing the circulation to flow back to the heart. And then from the heart back to your legs. Slowly hug your knees into your chest. Forehead to knees, knees to foreheads. Inhale. And exhale. Bring yourself down. Extend your legs. Extend your arms above your head. Give your body a nice good morning stretch. And slowly come to your Shavasana, laying down. Arms alongside your body, palms facing up. Drop your legs to the sides of your mat. Relax your feet. Relax your legs. Relax your hips and glutes. Relax your belly and your chest. Relax your entire back. Relax your shoulders. Relax your arms, hands, and each one of your fingers. Relax your neck. Relax your face expression, your jaw, your brows. Relax your head. And relax your entire body. We are here together for 5 breaths. When the time comes for us to rise, I'll let you know. Just rest. Slowly start coming back to your body. Tingling your fingers, your toes. Bringing in some movement, whatever feels good for you right now. Maybe yawning or swallowing. Extend your arms above your head. Another nice stretch. And then slowly turn to one of your sides. If you want to energize your body, turn to the left. If you have been a little stressed lately, turn to the right. Hold yourself there in a fetal position. And then slowly start to push the ground away, arriving at your seat. Close down your eyes. And I will invite you to find a comfortable seat so that Kieran can start the meditation. We have prepared our bodies, our minds to receive it. So even if you need to lay down, if you want to sit on a chair, just make sure that you have a comfortable spot. I will turn off the camera so that you can also bring your senses inwards. And I'll call in Kieran to guide the meditation. Thank you.
Hope everyone has had a good yoga practice. Let's just sink, relaxing our body, relaxing our minds. This is why we do physical yoga, is to be able to sit in meditation, in contemplation of the truth. In our seat, we just start to release whatever day we've been having, whatever month, season, chapter that we are presently moving through in this life. There's nothing we are missing. There's nothing wrong or broken. There's nothing we need to solve. We are good enough. We are complete and whole as we are. All the different roles and the ways that we are connected to this creation. Behind all of those roles, it's just God. God is expressing through all these different forms. Our lives are not separate. And that is a relieving fact because we have nothing to solve. Everything is in perfect order, in perfect time. And with a little more detachment and surrender to this knowing we are part of a big tapestry, we can actually show up for our roles better. We can release mental, physical, emotional, and spiritual stress that we are carrying as we just give it back to God. So this starting of the year, according to this calendar, whether you follow it or not, let it be a moment that we refresh, that we release the old that is not serving, the belief systems, ideas that are causing us more harm than helping us. And we call in that which we wish to pursue, that which is beneficial and nourishing to us and our families. So as we end this first month of 2025, may we see all the grace and support that's here. May we see ourselves connected to God, ever supported. May we know that everything is in its perfection. Om Swasti Prajabhyah Paripalayantam Nyayena Margena Mahim Mahishaha Go Brahmanebhya Shubhamastu Nityam Loka Samasta Sukhino Bhavantu Kale Varshatu Parjanyaha Prithvi Sasya Shalini Desho Yangsho Bharaitaha Brahmana Santu Nirbhayaha Sarve Bhavantu Sukhinaha Sarve Santu Niramayaha Sarve Bhadrani Pashyantu Ma Kaschit Dukkha Bhag Bhavet Asato Ma Sadgamaya Tamaso Ma Jyotirgamaya Mrityorma Amritam Gamaya Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadhaya Purnamevavashishyate Om Shanti 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 Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Harihi Om.
All right, everyone. Slowly coming back to your seat from whatever position you were. And we'll start our satsanga, questions and answers. And if you don't have any, we'll just find a topic to talk. We're turning on our cameras, and you can turn yours if you feel called to, and mute your mic. Yay, hello.
There we go. Okay. That was very
How are
nice.
you?
Good. Relaxed.
Relax. That's perfect.
That was very nice.
Thank you. Any questions?
Actually just one when we were doing the downward dog, just for the sake of position. I was just wanting to double check that when we straighten up the legs, are you straightening up the legs like quite straight, or are you leaving some room for the knees? Because I did hear you say soft knees. So I was just wondering, are the knees like bent a little bit, or like should they actually be on the straighter side when we're doing that position?
It would be a micro bend. It'll depend how flexible you are.
Yeah.
In the downward dog, it is better for you to have more space on your back, like a straight back, than to have your legs straight or touching your heels on the ground. So depending upon if you really have, like if you're really flexy, then yes, your legs can be really straight. But if not, I would for sure bend the knees and prioritize opening up the chest and the back.
Okay, that makes more sense. Yeah, because I do have a little bit of hypermobility, so I tend to be more flexible than I need to. So sometimes I'm always double checking with my legs, because I can go quite like straight with my legs and actually go the other way. So I kind of have to be careful with how far I'm stretching, because I need to be more on the softer side.
Yeah, if you have hypermobility, like hyper flexibility, for sure, always leave a micro bend on your elbows and on your knees.
Okay.
Yeah, to be on the safer side.
Good. That's good to know.
And for that is a lot of like strengthening. Like, for example, all the warriors that ground you, that root you, are really good for you to build up that strength around your kneecap, around, your quads and your whole leg structure. And also like if you do chaturangas, or of course within safety, we're going to tap into that in the yoga practice.
Yes.
But like yeah, just working on the arms as well is really good for strengthening. And then you can work a little bit more on that hyper flexibility, because your muscles will be able to hold your body in place,
Okay.
avoiding any injury.
Okay. Yeah, it's something that I didn't like. I've always known myself to be flexible, but it wasn't actually until very recently. I had gone for like a checkup and for like orthotics and stuff, and they had gone to a different doctor, and she actually noticed the hypermobility, which nobody had ever noticed before. So she was telling me that, like strength training is really good
Yeah.
to help that. And of course, when you're doing certain positions to keep your joints soft.
Yeah. 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 100%. Yeah. I think in yoga, a lot of people think that, oh, it's for flexible people.
Yeah,
Good. But actually, if you're too flexible in yoga and you're dumping on your system, you're actually causing a lot of harm, you know?
right.
So it's really about like activating your whole body, strengthening it, and
Yeah,
then tapping into that flexibility, rather than just flexibility and no strength.
right.
You're always looking for like rooting and then lengthening in yoga.
Okay.
Yeah. Cool. Nice.
Um, Also, just out of curiosity, can you guys explain some of what brought you to the yoga journey and what, because I mean, obviously, I know from Shiv's side that wasn't there before. And then it came like, it might have been there, like, in the psyche somewhere, but then there was like a real, like, interest and love for it later. How did that come about? I know, Melina, you have like a history with it before as well, but again, how did that actually come about? And when did you recognize that there's a deeper interest there to carry on
Mhm.
into a formal practice?
Hmm. Yeah, good question.
Mhm.
I think for me it was I left Ontario in like 2012,
Yeah.
and that was when I left college. And
Mhm.
leaving college and like leaving my social structure, I started to see life outside of kind of like the normal parameters that I knew.
Yeah.
And I think that's when my spiritual journey like really started. It was like I would say is like in 2012-ish. Because
Mhm.
you leave the nest and then all of a sudden you're like exposed to life.
Yes.
And I met a bunch of very impactful people where I was living. I was living in northern Alberta. And
Okay.
yeah, eventually what happened, I think I was having like an identity thing where
Yeah.
my old version of me, I would go back to visit mom and dad in Ontario, and all of a sudden like the things that I had done in Alberta and since I left home didn't allow me to feel like I fit in back home in some ways. So I
Right.
saw that there was like this shift happening where there was two versions of myself. Like there was like this version of, and then when you go back to your friend circles, and especially the friends you grew up with, like they know you a certain way, and it's like they almost want to remember you like
That.
that. So even if you're not like that, they they start like projecting that at you. And then for a good portion of like when I would come back home for like a year or two, I would put on that shirt and be that guy. And then eventually I start to realize like it was there was like something that was different. And
Yeah.
it felt more like I felt like an imposter in these
Yes.
spheres that felt so known to me. And I
Mhm.
think that's when I started to really kind of I was like in solitary in northern Alberta. I would go hiking for hours by myself and connecting to the land and just like experiencing life um, through a very different lens. And then that eventually led me to like mindful living and then yoga. Like I think the first yoga class I went to was with I don't know if it was with mom or Karina or maybe both. I think I was
Mhm.
16 and
Okay.
Karina was like nine years older than me. So when she was doing Reiki and yoga and all these things when she was like in
Yes.
her mid 20s, I was so young. And
Right.
she was kind of the first exposure I had to that stuff. And she planted a bunch of seeds in me. So when I came out here and I started to like kind of develop my spiritual life, I was like, oh, like I really like yoga and kind of the spaces it brings me to. And then eventually like why I think we both studied for the same reason in India is
Hmm.
like I kept doing yoga and I got like obsessed with it. Like there was days where I was doing like three classes a day. Lately, I'm
Wow.
not doing so much physical yoga, but
Yeah.
there was a point where like when I was living in Calgary, I was like I would go to like back-to-back classes or like two classes in the morning, one in the evening, and just like obsessed in a good way. But then
Yes.
like
Yes.
I yeah, for me, it eventually got to this question, this inquiry where I was like, this peace that I'm feeling, it's coming through this physical practice, but like what's behind yoga? Like there's
Right.
obviously something that I'm tapping into.
Hmm.
Um, and then that kind of led me to searching online and like eventually it led me to some Swamijis on YouTube and
Right.
like Muji. Do you know Muji?
I've heard of him. Yes.
Okay, so
Yes.
like eventually I like they came in my because the like algorithm starts like you see
Yes.
this and then you start searching this and
Showing
eventually
you
like
what you
a
want to
video
see.
pops up. So
Yeah.
I like saw these teachers and then I was also meeting people that were interested in this stuff. And then
Right.
I was like in all of that I also had like different things. Like me and my sister traveled to Peru,
Yeah.
had a very spiritual experience in Peru. We sat with plant medicine in Peru as well, which again, you've probably heard of ayahuasca, I think.
Yes.
So I was like 23 when I sat with that plant, and then my sister
Mhm.
was 29, or
Oh.
sorry, 32. And some of these moments were also very impactful for me, deepening in yoga and deepening in my spiritual life. And
Mhm.
I think it always came back to like this kind of sense of inquiry, like what is my placement here? What is this thing that is life? Why do we suffer? How to come out of that? And I think those kind of questions that are, I feel like are underlying for most people. Uh,
Yes.
I started to like get answers from different gurus and teachers through YouTube. And then that's what made me like pursue India and like seek it out more. And then
Hmm.
eventually it was like, yeah, when I was in India in 2019, 2018, I was again having another identity thing
Yeah.
because I went backpacking, came back to Canada, and it didn't fit again. Like it felt like everything didn't fit again.
Right.
And I wanted to go to India to volunteer, so I went to my yoga guru's ashram called Srimat Yoga, and I
Mhm.
spent 9 months kind of in solitary. The land there, like no one speaks English except like my guruji, and
Wow.
it was yeah, it was like very. I knew I had to kind of go into like hermitude a little bit, and that's kind of what I was pursuing. And I remember there was like one video from Muji that I saw, and he was like, when you're like opening the veil of like truth, like of
Hmm.
yourself, of life, there's a part of us that wants to like keep the curtain shut. Like it's
Yes.
like the curtain, right? It's
Yes.
like we're like peeping outside of the curtain, and then there's a part of us that like is afraid of what's outside of that.
Yes. I
And
agree.
and for me, I was at that point when I saw this video because I was like, oh, like I get so many, I'm understanding so many things, but then there's this part of me that just like can't fully surrender to God and can't fully surrender to a teacher or life. And
Mhm.
he's like, at that moment when you feel like you're at this like threshold, just ask God for truth. Ask God, be willing to sacrifice everything for truth, for understanding, for spirituality. And I
Mhm.
remember I like kept that as a prayer inside of me. And
Mhm.
then that's what led me back to India to volunteer. And then after I volunteered for a few months, I think it was like 7, 8 months I was there. And then I met a couple that were going to the same ashram where Malini and I met.
Mhm.
At this point, I was studying a bunch of like stuff on Vedanta just loosely through random like kind of accessible Swamijis online,
Yes. Mhm.
very westernized in some ways.
Mhm.
And I was like, okay, this is interesting, but I feel like it's so scattered because you watch one video and then you hear this thing, and then another video says something that's completely different.
Right. Yeah.
And yeah, I ended up going to northern India. I met the village where my ancestors came from, and I met some
Uh-huh.
ancestors that never left. And then
Mhm.
that led to, I feel like it was like a prerequisite to me going back south, which is where my yoga guru was. And then I met that couple, which then eventually led me to the ashram where Melanie and I met. And yeah, it was like the perfect thing. Like it was like prerequisite and then the next level and then next level and next level. I feel like God kind of lays out our path for us if
Yeah,
we're willing to listen and see it.
right.
Um, and I think even now, like I feel like we've been in Calgary just over a year actually. It's been like 4 days or so. No, maybe 10
Maybe a
days.
week, 10 days.
10 days or so since it's been a year since we moved here. And I feel like we've had so many different expressions of ourselves in that year. And yeah, I feel like I answered that question with a lot of story, but essentially
Yeah,
me trying to understand myself and my like what who I really am is what led me to kind of deepening in yoga.
right. There was a journey to get to that
Yeah,
point. Yeah,
totally.
a
And
lot
mom
of
and dad also, like mom and dad for sure, they were like
yes,
seeing the devotion like our
yes,
parents brought to um you know their lives, and
yes,
even though there's like this break from India to the Caribbean, they held on to their bhakti and their devotion and their tradition in such a way that when I was meeting these gurujis or meeting these teachers or having access to these energies in these lands and these places,
yeah,
it's like I could feel like all the subtle ways that my parents taught me without teaching me how to
right,
like
right.
carry myself and how to like be around a guru and all these things that
Yes,
I didn't realize I was carrying.
yes, yeah,
A lot of like my spiritual life has to do with like my siblings and my parents having to pave the way and my ancestors paving the way, and then I happen to be kind of a living expression of their journey as well. So I
absolutely.
I say like I did this and I did this, but in reality it's like millions of little things and
Right.
all
That
of our
brings it
ancestors.
together. Yeah.
Totally. So
That's nice. It's nice that you were able to remember the details and then be able to express it after as part of your journey through your
yeah.
own self-inquiry, which
Yeah.
never ends, but it's still good that you're moving along that path.
Yeah. Absolutely. I saw an Instagram video, it was probably like last year or something, and it says like the questions that we have, they actually have us. So it's like the
Right.
question of like who I am, that question actually is like holding me. I'm not holding that question. And
Mm,
our questions and our points of inquiry actually drive us. It's what motivates us to do anything, right? Um,
yes.
so it's like what motivates us to uncover the truth, right? Is because we've been captivated by this question, and then that question is kind of
Like
leading
this investigation,
totally
right?
Mhm.
trying to uncover something. So
Good. Very nice. Malini, how about you?
Um, yeah, for me, it was a little bit different. I think, yeah, I didn't have like a background of yoga or anything. My family is Christian, and like I was born and raised in Brazil. But
Mm-hmm.
my mom, for some reason, I think past lives, she also had a connection to India and to all the insights of this tradition, because
Okay.
my name is Hindu, which is funny,
Right. Right.
right?
It's
And
funny. Yeah.
my mom was the first one to take me to a yoga class. And
Okay.
when I went to a yoga class, the teacher, he was actually from Ananda Marga, which
Mm-hmm.
is more a bhakti oriented yoga. It's not just asana,
Right.
which was like what captivated me, you
Mm-hmm.
know. And then when I went back to my town where I was living at the time, I left home when I was 17. So um, when I went back, I decided to start practicing. And at the same time, I got the opportunity to do a Reiki course, an introduction, Reiki level
Mm-hmm.
1 and 2,
Mm-hmm.
and everything happened at the same time. And then a few months later, like 2 months later, I subscribed to my first yoga teacher training because I was just so taken by that practice. And again, it was like, what is this thing that I experience every time I come out of Shavasana? This
Right.
sense of like contentment, like I come into a class, I'm super stressed, and then I come out in a completely different state. And that start calling my attention, because it's not just about doing poses or being flexible or strong or being a certain shape. Of course, it's so fun when you can actually do a headstand or whatever. It's fun. It's nice to have that feeling of play and conquering yourself.
Yes.
But it was deeper than that. So I wanted to do a yoga teacher training at first, not because I wanted to teach, but because I wanted to understand that. But teaching always came very naturally to me. I was teaching English before, and then I started teaching yoga. It was a very natural transition. And in the year I started my yoga teacher training, I got the opportunity to do program exchange in a way that I would go to India and a student from India would come to Brazil to my house.
Okay.
So I went to Orissa first time. I landed in Kolkata by myself when I was 19, and it
Wow.
was a crazy experience.
Oh my goodness.
I had to take a train in Kolkata by myself. I didn't know anything. Kolkata is one of the biggest train stations. And
Yes.
in India, people think, yes, there is a lot of English, but there's a lot of people who do not speak English.
Right.
I
Right.
didn't know Sanskrit, so I didn't know the alphabet back then, so I couldn't really read Hindi. So
Wow.
yeah, it was a crazy experience. But at the same time, first time I landed, I was like, oh my God, I'm home.
Wow.
It was feeling like Mother India is really my home. And even nowadays, if I'm homesick, it's not really for Brazil, it's
Wow.
for India. Like I feel that like my soul really longs for India because I have this deep connection, maybe past
Yeah.
lives.
Yes, it's deeply rooted. Yeah.
Super like rooted in me. And so then I went back, I finished the yoga teacher training and I started teaching. But in my yoga teacher training, I heard about Vedanta, which is what Kira and I studied together. And Vedanta is like the basis of what we call in the Western world the yoga philosophy. It's what gives those answers, those deep answers. What is behind this yoga practice that I'm experiencing? And I want to go deeper. And then you understand that it's related to the self because it's an experience that happens in yourself and it happens to be your nature. So, all those questions that I didn't know I had, Vedanta answered for me, which was funny. I heard that from a student of mine. She's like, Vedanta answered all the questions that I didn't know I had. And I'm like, oh
Right.
my gosh,
Yes.
it's so true because
Yeah.
I wasn't like Kieran in the sense like diving deep, trying to understand, trying to question, investigating. No, I was just going with the flow. I like this thing and I want to understand more. It was out of curiosity, but not trying to dig deep. It was like,
Right.
this is fun, this is nice, I love it, and let me
Yeah.
go.
Yeah.
And then Vedanta eventually became my life. So I started actually studying the text with teachers. I have a teacher who lives in India, in Auroville, and she was teaching also. I did my Sanskrit introduction to Sanskrit, like the alphabets,
Right.
before going to India. So I spent almost a year and a half preparing because my main goal
Wow.
was to be in India for the
Yeah.
3-year course. So I
Oh.
just started building up. And in this, I'm like 21. And
Mhm.
then when the opportunity came, I was 23. I was in India again. I was in Rishikesh when I received the news that I was approved because I was underage. It was supposed to be
Oh,
25, but I was
okay.
23. But our Swamiji, he said, no, it's okay. You're committed. Just come, whatever. So yeah. And that's what led me to Vedanta and to India and studying. And it's been a big transformation of understanding of reality. At the same time, just growing up and understanding myself. And then we getting married is being also practicing yoga because we both have the same values and this commitment to a life of yoga, which is a life of self growth and spirituality,
Yes.
has been our daily practice, in my view.
Right.
And moving to Canada was also a huge contrast.
Yeah. Yeah.
So if before, like when I went to India, I felt so home. And even
Right.
though I didn't have a background, I didn't know how to behave in front of Swamiji. I didn't know what it was to do a production in a temple. I didn't know
Right.
absolutely anything, like
Yeah.
anything. I didn't know how to behave in a temple because it was the first time I was in a temple.
Mm.
But in a week's time, I was like, this is home and this is perfect and it's so natural to me.
Wow.
With North America, I was like, this is so foreign. I don't know what I'm doing here. I just can't settle.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I was really thankful that I landed in a in a family that carried the tradition. So I always felt at home with Kieran's parents. They are my parents as well. And
Yes.
this really helped to make the transition smooth.
Mhm.
And then I feel that since we moved to Calgary, we're kind of establishing ourselves more and more, gaining this solid ground so that we can do the work we're supposed to do, our dharma, our
Right.
duty.
Mhm.
And recently, I subscribed to a new yoga teacher training because I felt that I went so deep into the, well, philosophical aspects of it,
Mhm.
rational aspects of it, but
Mm.
the base groundwork, like let's work on our bodies, let's work on our breath, let's prepare our minds to receive that knowledge, was kind of slipping away. And I felt that I needed to get that back, and also to share with my students from a place of like more understanding, because when we are in India and it's so traditional,
Mhm.
when you're there, it makes sense to receive that knowledge in that way. But
Yes.
when we are here, I felt this difficulty of relating to people because people were not living in an ashram. People didn't have the same language, the
No.
same schedules. So when I started
Right.
this yoga teacher training, I felt that like, oh, okay, I can make that bridge and things can be simpler. So I'm really enjoying taking that. And this will also grant me the 500-hour certification, which is going to be good for Mahalila, because then we can actually offer the Yoga Alliance 200-hour. And our
Oh,
main goal is to offer that rooted in the tradition. So making this bridge
good.
between the Western culture and also all that baggage of those 3 years living and just like studying every single day.
Yes.
So, yeah, I think one thing led to another, to be honest, and I can't claim like, oh, I wanted to do this. It's just like
Mhm.
the next thing, like Kieran said, and you just follow this,
Huh.
this line that is there in front of you that you don't know exactly where it is, where it's leading to, but you're just following because it's captivating and it feels right. So,
Yes. Yeah.
yeah, that
Yeah,
was it.
I like what you mentioned there, because something for me that I've always wanted is, from the time I've always been interested in yoga, but because I haven't had anything that's rooted in our tradition that's available to me based on where I grew up and just what was available to me, it was really hard for me to want to start learning about yoga because everything was very westernized and it's not rooted from the ancient traditions that I know. And it was really funny that when I got to sort of like a point of like desperation, where I was just literally reaching out to Bhagwan and saying, please, send somebody my way that I'm familiar with that can provide me some comfort in starting my journey in meditation and yoga. And then, little do we know, she messaged me the next day.
Was it the next
That's so
day?
crazy.
Yeah, it was the next day.
Wow.
it was
Wow.
it was that fast. It was instantaneous. Like, because I literally had like, I was just literally surrendering myself, like tears in my eyes. Like, I just really want to start something, and
I
I
love
don't
it.
have anyone to really guide me or show me, or even just start something simple.
Mhm.
And then he messaged me like literally the next day. It was either the next day or 48 hours, and nothing more than 48 hours. And he was inviting me to the group, and how they were starting like free guided, how you guys were starting free guided meditations. And then like later on when I had chatted with him, because we were just catching up, then he went on to say how you would be providing these yoga classes. And so for me, that was a really great lead in, because here when I look around, there's obviously yoga classes everywhere, but it's all rooted in like an exercise. Like, everybody treats it as an exercise. And while I understand there's, physical benefits, there's so much more to it that's not being focused on. And having typically what I want is to, and why I like the way you guys are approaching it, is to prepare the body to connect with Bhagwan.
Mhm, mhm.
So the yogic tradition helps to prepare our bodies for that ultimate realization and connection eventually with that supreme consciousness.
Mhm.
So what you said there about, like, teaching it, by having those roots is really important to me. And I'm sure it is to a lot of people here too. It's just they don't have the opportunity to learn from that perspective. But I know there is probably a lot out there that would like to.
Yeah, 100%. I think sometimes we get so caught up into this comparison and
Yeah.
how much people are offering yoga nowadays. But I feel that what we have to vet, what we have to offer is so like almost exclusive because of our like what we went through and how much we are actually devoted to the tradition. And I'm not saying that there are not other places out there, like even the
Yeah.
training I'm taking, I'm
Yes.
really happy with the training because I feel that to the capacity that they have, they're really following it.
There's a structure. Yeah.
Like it's a nice structure, but I really feel like there's so much that we can do, and it would be like almost selfish of us if we don't step out and start
Yes.
offering, you know.
I
And the
agree.
people that are out there that are to resonate with our work, for sure they will come, you know. And
Yeah.
but yeah, this teacher of mine actually, she said she was talking about the body because we're doing a posture lab, and she said we always start with the feet in the sense we always start with the base by rooting, and then lengthening, then growing tall, then expanding. But if you think about the like even we've been doing these meditations, right, based on yamas and yamas,
Mm-hmm.
and we are going to tap more into like the eight limbs afterwards, but
Yes.
this understanding that we have to start from the gross to the subtle, we have to start from the body rooting grounded so that we can actually reach those subtle understandings like lengthening, right, making it light and light. So I feel that it's really important to come back to the body, and this has been my own journey lately of the past like 2 months, coming back to the basics, you know, come
Yes.
back full circle where you started, and from there informed you can start sharing with people. And
Right.
so it's been really really nice in that way, and that's
Mm.
why we decided to open up this discussion and started with the yoga and meditation. And we also like we want to share our gift to the community, which is we're going to be offering February 4 live classes. Um, they're going to be all the classes we want to offer in the membership that will be coming in March. And 3 of them will be guided by me. We are going to explore foundations, Hatha foundations. So, for example, all these questions about downward dog, chaturanga,
Right.
plank, how to position your body, and if you'll be live so that I can correct your body if you want to.
Mm-hmm.
Then a vinyasa practice, a practice that links movement with breath and it's more flowy. And then
Yes.
a restorative practice to really learn to tap into that stillness and allowing the body to rest, which is something that in North America we can use so much because we're all the time conditioned to, I have to produce,
Yeah.
otherwise I'm worthless, right?
Yeah. Constantly
It's
stimulated.
a radical thing. I think restorative and in practices for me are the most radical things you can do. And people think it's the easiest practice. For me, it's like the most challenging ones and the
Yeah.
most necessary ones. And
Right.
then Kieran is going to lead. Do you want to talk about your offering?
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I'll be doing mobility training, functional movement, but essentially trying to bulletproof the body in a
Okay.
contrasting way to yoga and
Yes.
just mobility. I was obsessed with mobility like 2016, 2015.
Mm-hmm.
There's a few gyms here in Calgary I was going to. There's one called Move to Move.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just like moving your way, like, you know, when you're a child and you can move
Yes.
in all these dimensions where I think as
Right.
we age, we get so two-dimensional and safe and linear in our thinking. And, you know, like this,
Yes.
you see, I think like the expression with people as they age, you either see people getting more radical and free thinking or free, or they
Yes.
get more linear, two-dimensional, like, yeah. And I
Very
feel
strict.
like movement is an expression of an inner world. And I feel like even more so now with technology and all these means to stay here, right? Like I'm here, this thing's here, and we're kind of always operating in these axes. And I think bringing back functional movement in a way that our body, like our body's meant to rotate, our ligaments, our muscles, everything is supposed to move. And they say even just like your abdomen, like the torsion, like the I don't know if that's the right word now,
Yeah.
but the
Mhm.
as you twist your body, like that's the connecting, that's how you connect your force of your
Yeah.
legs to your upper body. And
Your
there's so
lateral lines, right?
yeah, because they run.
Responsible for this movement. Yeah.
So it's like imagine how many people just don't do this
Right.
in a given day. And it's not in the sense like yoga is great because it's like addressing in a certain context, but
Right.
like even moving in that, like how do we move in a way that our body's fluid? How do we, and there's so much emotions and so much energy that's also
Yes.
tied there. It's not just a
Mhm.
physical practice. We're also releasing and moving things that we don't realize we're carrying, right?
Like the
Because
somatic movement,
somatic
right?
Right.
movement, our body is so intelligent, our system is so complex, and
Mhm.
trauma and pain and different things, this birth before as well, we
Yes.
store in different ways and we don't realize it, right? And
Mhm.
so I wish to, I'm going to connect back into that thing that I was obsessed with, and I wish to
Yes.
share that once a month. And I wanted to touch on one point that Melanie mentioned earlier, based on
Mhm.
her your question.
Yeah.
I think the sense that we receive so much from our teachers, and I remember our Swamiji in one of the satsangs, he said, like, there's no obligation for a sannyasi, like a renunciate or a wise person to teach. Because if they've realized the truth,
Yes.
um, there's nothing that they've technically
They've done.
made it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
so that's
They've
why
made.
when we see like a guruji or someone who's really arrived, or like we see that they're an embodying, because what they're doing is they're embodying God. They're bringing it to the flesh. They're bringing it through their action, through their integrity, through their values, their morals, their principles, and they're a walking embodiment of what it means to bring heaven on earth, bring God into the
Correct.
physical.
Yes.
And
Right.
Like there's a in the Gita, Krita Krityaha, the one who has done what is to be done,
hmm,
Right. Yes.
accomplished, right?
They've
so
made the connection.
Made it, yeah.
So like I remember our Swamiji, it's like we say, okay, Swamiji, like Swamiji believes in the teaching. He believes in he believes he is God and that everyone around him is also God, that we are not just servants of God, we are not just parts of God, we are God. And
Yes.
the belief that we are not is the thing that makes us live in ways that are maybe immoral or disconnected, or that we go out searching to try to fill that cup with all these different things, money, fame, recognition,
Right.
status, and I remember there was a question that someone asked, like, why do you teach then? Like, why are you a teacher? If you've already done everything, shouldn't you just sit? Because in India, when you walk around, you see some sadhus that are just sitting, and that's their
Correct.
life. They just sit and maybe contemplate, or they just sit and take bhiksha, they take food.
Yes.
Um, and then it's like, I remember Swamiji's answer was, his Guruji gave him such a profound teaching that liberated him from his suffering and the human
Yes.
condition itself. Um, and that's what they say. It's like he's saying, as a debt to his teacher, he's just continuing the tradition onwards, right? And I feel like we both, like we were so young when we got like access to these teachers in this
Yeah.
tradition,
Yes.
and I feel like, yeah, I just feel like it's what our ancestors, well, I say for myself, like I don't know if Melina
Yeah.
resonates, but so what my
Mm.
ancestors would want me to do is to share this thing, and not in a way that it's like everyone, it's not like a missionary thing also. It's just
No.
like
No. No.
out of like fullness and benefit that I got from this tradition and this
Yeah.
teaching, we
Yeah.
wish to share from that space.
Hmm.
And it's almost like it's like you said the word exclusive, and in that as well, from my angle, I see it is like, many people might not have the exposure we had, right? Like we were in India for
No.
four
Yeah.
years just
Yeah, yeah.
studying,
Yeah.
wearing the same white kurta, white pants for years. Mom also studied, she could tell you about it.
Yes.
Um,
Yes.
it's a very specific context that I feel like a lot of people won't get to experience. And I think
Hmm.
that energy, because it's like, why is Malini from Brazil and has this background? Why did I grow up through the ways of India, West Indies to Canada?
Canada. Yeah.
God has given each one of us a specific context for the purpose that we're meant to live in the world. And
Hmm.
for me, that's what Mahalila is meant to be, from like my thinking as well. It's like it's just like an expression of that through all the things that we love
Yeah.
and things that we think is beneficial, right? Because finally, whatever we wish to create in this life, it's, we can either feed something positive and something that's
Right.
beneficial to people, or it could be a contributor to like negativity or hate or separation or evil, whatever you want to call it, a dharma also.
Yes. Eternal. Yeah. Yeah.
So, and I see, sometimes I see that dance happening even internally. There's a part of me that can feed this thing that's nourishing and connected and enveloping myself and my loved ones with love. And then there's also part of me that wants to be, like victim and separate. And so it's like, I feel like Mahalila is us ultimately choosing to walk the path of Dharma. And, we have ideas and visions for this year, and God always has a bigger, like the vision finally. So
Yes.
we trust in that bigger picture. And
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I think that's why we wanted to. I feel like even today I was going to make a story on Instagram. It's just like, I feel like we're being both called into more service. Like I've seen
Right.
it. Malini stepped into like women's circles in the
Mm-hmm.
last year and this yoga training, and I've
Yeah.
been sitting in men's circles
Yeah.
and not so much yoga training, but I'm doing a bunch of stuff with like real estate and like interacting with a bunch of people, and I see how we're supposed to serve in so many different levels now.
Levels. Right. Yeah.
And we just both feel that it's time to step into, because we're doing so many layers of like stepping in. We just feel
Mhm.
like spiritually, like it's the time for Mahalila to get prioritized. Um,
Yes.
so I feel like this
Mhm.
year is really gonna be like it's gonna change so much, and I
Yeah.
think yeah, I just have a good vision for it. And I
Yeah.
also want to reflect your question back to you. I'm curious. I'm
Yeah.
curious what has gotten you to this point, and also, Mama, I'd love to hear from you
Yeah.
and
Okay.
see.
Um, so that's you actually first for me.
You guys can, whoever wants to go further. I think your mom's mic is muted. Mom, can
Okay, so
I'm gonna
I
unmute.
will I will go first. Growing up, I did not have access to anything. I grew up in Whitby. There was no other Indian kids here. There was only one Sikh girl who was my friend, obviously just by because she was Indian and we had similarities. But I was away from anything Hindu, anything like really Indian. So my only exposure was with my parents and myself living in Whitby. I was 7 years old. We had first started off in Mississauga, but we had moved when I was quite young. So growing up in Whitby, I had nothing around me. So actually, funny enough, the Bollywood scene is what brought me into understanding the Indian culture, because the old Bollywood was very much still into the traditions of Hinduism, and I would see like how they did the weddings and how they were doing their Durga Puja and how they did their Ganapati Puja. And so I started learning about Hinduism and Indian culture vastly through Bollywood movies. And I was so interested that I would start using the subtitles to try and figure out some of the Hindi words and try to understand the movies to an extent where I could have a good idea what's going on, even if I didn't have subtitles. And when I was 15 or 16, the Devi Mandir had just opened up into their larger building. They were in the house previously,
Mhm.
and then they had opened up into their larger Mandir space. And my parents started taking me because that was the closest place from where we were living. And from there, I noticed that I started having a lot of questions of my own. Like I just knew what my parents knew. Like I just learned whatever they knew and whatever I could just pick up from whatever books I had, because we didn't have much of the internet in those days. So it was really the Mandir scene that started to, like Malini said, like you just started to develop an interest. It wasn't like I had a lot of questions, like deep questions, but it was just the interest of hearing something would lead to like another question to learn more just for an understanding. And then I realized that I was very interested in it. And when I got to university level, I actually started taking courses on Hinduism to try and learn more. But what I realized shortly after is that the academic Hinduism is not reflective of the actual tradition.
Mm-mm.
And so what I was learning at the university level had actually nothing to do with what I was doing in the mandir.
Mhm.
And it was like night and day. And so that now led me on this quest where I needed to find better sources. And luckily enough, through friends, I had met my Guruji at 19.
Hmm.
And when I met my Guruji, that's when everything changed. So he had initiated me, and he was living in Markham at the time. And he himself is a self-realized master. He had started into his own journey when he was about 11 years old with Ma Saraswati, and he had realized he had a very good connection with her. And he had continued to do a lot of self-study and a lot of experimentation with meditation of his own. And over the years, um, he has made that connection, and he has shared a lot of experiences with me. And the funny thing is that those friends that had taken me to him for an initial purpose, actually, they ended up just dropping off, and I ended up staying with him from the age of 19 up to today.
Wow.
Wow.
And yeah, so, and he had actually moved to Florida because he had left his householder stage. His kids were old enough, they had their own families, and he had taken himself and my Mataji, and they'd gone to Florida, and they actually bought a small place sort of just in nature, like kind of like a little hut, little life kind of just in the forest type of thing. And so that's where he's been for the past maybe 10 or 15 years now. Probably about 15 years or more, but still we've maintained our connection, and as he would talk to me, I would learn more and more, and then that spurred on my own want to learn more. And I always noticed that I was always very curious about spirituality, so like I kind of would be interested in like astrology or like the Vedic astrology or like Chinese astrology, just like to kind of figure out about like a personality. And I also have a very high interest in psychology as well, so like having to do with the mind. So I studied psychology in university, and also neuroscience as well, and biology. So the workings of the body has always been very interesting to me, and the workings of the mind. So I mean, I'm saying this now, but at the time when I was building this life, I didn't know why I was interested in all these things, but I just had these inclinations towards studying the mind, why we behave the way we do, different personalities, reading different personalities, and picking up body language and things like that. All things that were interest to me, and including yoga, because I felt like yoga was very calming to my body, not really understanding what I know now, but just because it felt good. And I felt like I was doing something that was important for my body, and not just from an exercise point of view. But the problem, as I said, is that because I wasn't getting the Vedic tradition part out of it, I kept falling on and off the practice. But then also, as not only that, like getting married and like having Sean there, who was also already on that path of inquiry and just trying to learn, him and I both had this interest, and we kind of find ourselves now just through marriage and having kids and stuff, where we want to learn more so that we can pass this down to our kids. Because even if they don't pick this up in this lifetime, the seeds would have been planted from us, and it will, blossom at some point, whether it's in this lifetime or 10 lifetimes from now. That's sort of our goal. And we really feel that having kids has really pushed or propelled that goal forward so much more, 100 times more, that we feel compelled that like we can't stop now. We just have to keep going, keep learning more, so that they can see what they're doing, what we're doing, and they can be immersed in it at the age in which they're impressionable. And then later on, they'll have to decide where their path takes them. So that is how I sort of got into it. And then I also noticed like things started falling off, like where I used to eat meat when I was a teenager. And then when I started on this, like I didn't want it anymore, and I stopped eating chicken, like just cold turkey. Like I just stopped all of a sudden. And then later on, like I stayed with like fish for a bit, and then after I had Sagar, like that completely vanished as well. And I had this feeling that like it's gonna happen, because I can see like my body is not happy or like satisfied with this, and I just wanted to kind of move to a more vegetarian, lighter diet. I felt like my body needed a lighter diet. And so I just kind of have all these little things um, following me in life and kind of taking me different paths until where I am today. And I see now that there's just a lot more opening up for me as I continue down this road. So yeah, so it's not where I thought I was gonna be because I didn't know this was there at the beginning of like childhood, but I've grown into it and then realized that there was so much in there that's been wanting more. And as I get older, I'm seeing that it's continuing that way.
Oh,
Beautiful.
that's beautiful. Yeah.
Thanks for sharing.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's it. So that's when then I came, and then I found Mahalila, and we're continuing down this path too. And we've been, I think it's been about a year now since you guys started, a year and a bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Back in, we made a
Yeah,
video.
kind
Yeah.
of.
Year and
Yeah.
a half, maybe. Yeah.
Yeah. I think
Yeah.
we posted like the intro video and then we didn't do anything for like months.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We also,
It's been
we moved so many
busy.
times.
Times.
Four times in 2 years, and I just feel like
I think it's
we're
at the right time, you know, when the right time comes,
true.
things will flourish, people come,
Yeah.
or needs to get in contact. And I think I just wanted to, yeah, tap a little bit into, I don't know why I just thought about that, the missionary idea, you know, and how like we come in contact with like-minded people.
Yeah.
And I think at first we also had to mature in order for us to share from this place of this works for us and we think this could work for other people rather than this is the ultimate truth and I'm sharing it. You know,
Right.
it's like
Right.
it's from this place of like this understanding that this makes sense for us and it might make sense for other people and we're not trying to convert anyone or
No.
change anyone's mindset.
Can I
Yes. Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
that's when I point to that because I think everyone believes that they have the truth.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like if you ask anyone, like, tell me your philosophy on life,
Yes.
100%.
everyone would, unless they can admit their own ignorance, which some people might be in that moment or that stage of life where like life is humbling them and they're like, oh, I actually know nothing. Because
Mhm.
my
Yes.
early 20s, I was like, oh, I understand life. Like this is easy. Everyone makes it complicated.
Have arrived. I
Yeah,
know.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
don't know why everyone's making such a big deal. Like I figured it out young. And then like 23, I'm like, God, please like help me. Like humbled. But I think it's this one of those things where we recognize like it's exactly what you said, this works for us and
Mhm.
Mhm.
if it resonates with the right people, like we're happy and we're not here for numbers because that's like another.
No.
But I
No.
feel like that's another trap with the world and the social media that
Yeah.
we're
Yeah.
always trying to like our value is always compared with these
The
statistics
numbers and
and
it's
Yes.
yeah.
Correct.
it's
Yeah.
like an obsession, right? Even today I was like we're jumping on and I'm like, what if no one shows up? What if it's one person? What if
Yeah. Yeah.
like and he's like, we'll just have a conversation with two people and I'm like, that's true.
Yeah. But yeah, exactly.
So it's
Exactly.
like it's yeah, sorry, continue.
No, that was it. I guess that was my share. Like, and I think
Yeah.
that's it. You know, you start like maybe Hinduism in the academy, and then you see that it's not that, and then slowly God leads you to the ways and to the Satsanga, right? The
Yeah.
company, the like-minded people that has the same values, and then you grow in that. And I
Mhm.
think the beauty is like always being rooted in the tradition. It's time tested.
Yeah.
And there is a reason behind, I think it's studying like the menstrual practices into the
Yeah.
Vedas that has opened up so much my eyes to
Me
so
too.
many taboos that people have and misunderstand in Hinduism and in the Vedic tradition that are actually explained by science. And
Yes.
having like the modern science and world being able to support these ancient traditions and bringing understanding and light to it is what like it's mind blowing to me and it's what I love about it, you know.
Right. Yeah, I agree with that. And that's sort of the take we have too, because I mean, obviously like we're teaching kids at the Mandir right now too about Sanatan Dharma. And when we started off, it was the same worry about, you know, what if we only get like one kid or two kids or a couple kids? And then once we started talking about it, we said, well, what's our goal? Because our goal right now is just to be there for the ones that really want to learn, whether it's 5 kids or it's 20. Even if you have like, it's better to have like 5 kids that are really interested than to have 20 that are just coming and they're not absorbing anything, right?
Yeah.
So we had to actually go in with the same mindset as you guys, and we're still continuing with the classes as well, and they are growing, which is a great thing to see. But as usual, there's always like a few that are very, very interested, and that's what we're there for, is to help them grow. Because of our own experience, because a lot of what's happening is, some of the immigrant parents are coming and they're worried that their children will not be able to maintain the traditions in a Canadian or North American environment. And like, we're kind of here to tell them that, like, we were both born and raised in Canada, and we've been able to maintain it well into our, relationship and marriage and kids, and we're continuing that, so it's possible. So we're kind of there to show, like, you guys can do it too, because our parents were immigrants, they worked hard, and we were still able to maintain those traditions. So I totally agree with what you guys, when you say, it's not about the numbers, it's just about sharing the information and trying to open up the minds of the young ones, or anyone really.
Beautiful. You guys should make an online course with those, rites of passage, and for kids, especially because it's something that I am super interested.
Yes.
Like when we have kids, I would love to go through all these rites of passages and everything, but I don't have knowledge of that,
Yes.
The samskaras, all the I think 64
There's 16 main ones, I
16
believe.
main ones, and then
64.
I think so.
Wow.
Yeah, I know. Yes. So there's so we've started doing some of them with the kids to our capacity, and it's really it really is a beautiful thing when we're doing it, and I feel personally that it has changed the trajectory of, like, my kids' lives. Like, I feel like I'll tell you something just really funny. It was just out of nowhere, really. We had gone to the BAPS Swaminarayan, BAPS Swaminarayan Mandir in Toronto, and I had picked up one of the books, and they were just talking about doing the sanskars for children from the time of conception to the time that they are born, and when you do their name sanskar and the mundan and all these things. And they were saying, like, there was a listing of benefits that the parents will see once these sanskars have been completed. And I was just, reading for interest. And it was funny because what they had mentioned on this list of benefits of doing these sanskars was exactly what my son was benefiting from at the age of like 5 or 6. Now that he's entered the school life, I noticed everything that they mentioned was actually coming out to play in that exact way for him. Like, some people may say it's coincidence, but for me, that was like, I nearly dropped the book because it was just so strange to see that everything that they say can help the child, it would benefit the child in their school years, was actually coming to light in what I had seen in his progression in his early school age. So for me, it has been very eye-opening that there is truth, and there was it's recommendations to help our lives to be a little bit easier in a world that's already very difficult. That there's recommendations that it's not there as like a do or don't, or it's black and white, but it's really just recommendations to help make your life easier in a world that's already very difficult, in my opinion.
Amazing. Yeah, our teachers always say, Dharma rakshatu rakshitaha. If you protect Dharma, if you follow Dharma, Dharma will protect you.
Protect you, yes.
Yeah, amazing.
Yeah.
Gonna call on Mom if she wishes to share as well.
What was the question, son?
Like your, like, what, how was it? Your
What
spiritual
brought
life?
you to your yoga path, spiritual life?
Like, how did you arrive to this point in your life?
Okay. Well,
If you
born
if
and
you want
raised
to
in
answer.
it. Yeah, born and raised in this culture. Getting married also. Your dad's side was very traditional, spiritual. His 4 parents donated a temple in Felicity, which was 2 houses away from us, where I lived. And my father was the treasurer of our temple. So every time he was going to the temple, we went. And it was like a social event, because there was not much of anything that we would get to go to from growing up. like parties and different things. No, it was the temple, mostly the temple. And then get married young, get kids, and then we came to Canada. And of course, we had to find somewhere to take the kids also to learn about the culture because we had to pray so hard in order to survive as immigrants in this country.
Mm.
And it was a really challenging thing. So every Sunday we went to Devi Mandir, and that's where we started to create this Devi Mandir family.
Yes.
So we were there ongoing every Sunday. Christmas Day, if Christmas Day they didn't have nobody to do puja, Sharmila, mother-in-law and father-in-law, the father-in-law especially would say, Sunilji, we have nobody to do puja. And then Sunilji will say, okay, we will take the puja. So
Yes.
to
Yes.
take the puja, we will sponsor everything. I even end up making pone and we buy caramel and try to make it like a traditional Trinidad Christmas
Oh,
and make sweet bread and like just for the congregation because not a lot of people want to come. People want to celebrate Christmas, but we were in the temple.
wow. That's
And
beautiful.
honestly, without that, I don't think we'd even be where we are today.
Yes.
It gave us so much strength,
Yes.
and we took pride in going.
Mm-hmm.
When I and my children clothes and kurtas and whatever, we didn't have a lot, but you know what? They look like $1 million.
Of course.
And we did this for so many years. Now we're not going so much. We are far away from the temple.
Yes.
Also, we are older and don't like driving in the night, so not
Yeah,
too much.
for
But
sure.
every day, at least 3 or 4 hours, we on YouTube listening to podcast.
Hmm.
When we are not doing the podcast, Kirtan is on the TV on YouTube all the time. Like
Very.
one day, Karina phoned me. She said, "Mom, you're having a party." I say, "Every day," because the music is on. I'm cooking, and honestly, I could not have done anything without God. And
Yes.
also getting to the opportunity to go to India, it's because of Kiran and Malini coming back from India. I was so interested in everything they did and how they were not behaving, but just how they're living.
Right. Yes.
It opened my eyes even at my age, and I thought,
Yeah.
wow, this was like so amazing. I'm so proud of these two
Mm-hmm.
children of mine.
Mm-hmm.
It's
Absolutely.
yeah, it really just take me aback.
Yes. Well,
And
we learn from our kids too, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
our kids are our teachers,
Yeah. Yes.
we should be teaching these kids because
No.
the brain of a child these days is so much more than me.
Yes. Yes. My Guruji
It,
tells me that all the time. Like he tells me, like, don't treat them any different from you because they're all part of this. They're all a spark of that divine consciousness, and
no,
they have all the intelligence in the world.
Mm.
they honestly, because of them, I was able to go to India.
Yes.
And every time I tell them that, because of their blessings, their grace, it sparked this interest in me. And being
Yes.
tired now, I couldn't do anything better with my life for 4 months living in the ashram.
Hmm.
It was an experience second to none. If
Wow.
anybody have that opportunity, they should do it.
It's amazing.
It's
Amazing. Honestly, I'm proud of me because
Yeah.
of God's grace. Doing this at this age, it was
Yes.
wow.
It's not easy. Living
for
in
Not
ashram is not
easy.
easy.
for
Oh,
well,
it's not.
I just want to say it's mom's blessings
Yeah.
for
100%.
sure,
It's for
but
sure her punya,
it's
her
not our
grace.
blessing.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I understand what you're saying, mom.
Yeah.
But yeah, just for context, or anyone that's listening that hasn't like been to an ashram, our
Yeah.
schedule was like from 4 5 a.m.
To 9
to
p.m.
9 10 p.m. with maybe 30 minutes to an hour in between the middle of the day break. And like,
Wow.
so it's like
It's
very rigorous.
intense.
Like you wake
Yeah.
up at like 5 a.m., you go to temple, there's like Vedic chanting in Sanskrit with the priest from 5 a.m. to 7 a.m. From 7 a.m. we do meditation similar to the meditations we're doing, except
Yes.
our Swamiji is leading them.
Mm.
We do that from like 7 to close to 8.
Mm.
8:15, there's breakfast. Um, and then you go back to your room. Some people like do their laundry at that time. You have to hand wash all your stuff in buckets, hang it on the roof, and at 9 o'clock we have our first Vedanta class. After Vedanta is done, it's usually 1 hour. After that's done, we have Sanskrit, and
Yes.
then in between that, we have after Sanskrit we have a 15-minute tea break, and then we have chanting class, and then after chanting we have lunch, and then after lunch we have like maybe 30 minutes to an hour. Some people have seva at this time, so they don't really have a break, and
Okay, right.
and then sometimes it could be some days we might have like a bigger gap, but usually like an hour or two max in the day. And then evening Vedanta class at 4 to 5, and then at 5 o'clock to 5:30, it's usually when people like go for a walk or something. 6 o'clock is temple, and
Mm.
temple's done at like 6:45. 7 o'clock is dinner. Dinner is done like 7:30, 8 o'clock is satsang. So just like how we're meeting here, you sit down and sometimes
Mm.
we'll take a text and we'll go through a text in satsang. Sometimes it'll be question and answers, sometimes both. And then satsang finishes at 9. My seva was video editing, so I would do video editing and photo editing. We essentially recorded the whole course, so now there's like a
Oh.
library, and then I was cutting the videos every day, so sometimes it was like 3 to 5 classes of editing I would have to do at that time, sometimes till 10, 11. Malini was doing opposite. She was up at like 4 a.m. cleaning the temple and getting it ready for morning puja, and
I
there's like
used to do the column or
Mm-hmm.
Rangoli for the
Yes,
temple,
yes.
clean the temple, putting the
so
chairs.
opposite. So
Yeah, it was opposite.
Melanie was up at like 4. I was up till like 11, sometimes midnight. But
Wow.
yeah,
That's
and that
crazy.
was like it was like that for 3 years, and mom did it
Wow.
for 4 months, and
Which is amazing.
amazing. Like I can't imagine, like I'm now in my 30s. I can't imagine being double this age and trying to maintain that schedule.
Yeah.
Yes,
Like
especially at that age.
kudos to
I
mom.
I
Mom,
started at 3 o'clock in the morning. I got up every day because
Wow.
I had to do homework. I had to write. We had to do summary of the classes
Yeah.
Wow.
that we heard. So
I
I would get up at 3 o'clock. I would write for 1 hour. Then I would go and soak my clothes, the
Mm.
laundry from yesterday, because every day you got to do that.
You gotta wash your clothes. Yeah, soak them.
Yeah, because it's in a bucket, so you can't save up more than one day's clothes.
Right. And
So
then
I soak my clothes, and you shower in the same area, wash the clothes, then get ready for temple. And my saver was 2 o'clock, so I had no time in the day. I was helping in the kitchen, cut vegetables for everybody every day.
wow.
So it was from 3 to about 10 or 11 every night.
Yeah.
Wow.
I could have died to sleep, but there was no time to sleep.
That's a long, long day.
Yeah, so you know what? But I honestly, I'm so grateful.
Mm.
It puts so much things in perspective for me.
Yes.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
100%.
I say it's often like spiritual military. Like it's like
Yeah,
you
It
don't you
is.
don't you don't
that's it.
realize too, because like it's like people go to the military and then they like because it's like such a there's no gap. Like you start that like regimen and you
Yes.
stay in that for years, and then all of a sudden you leave. Like I'm sure they have a similar experience. Like you leave and you're like, wow, I'm different. Like everything's different. Like like you just like the 4 months. I remember I did the 3 month course similar to mom, 3, 4 month course at the beginning before
Yeah.
they do the 3 year course. And I had no idea. I wasn't like Malini. Like I didn't arrive there knowing I was studying this course or like the
Yeah.
background of this course. Like I just arrived there and like I'm like what is this thing that I'm in? And I even like just the fact like I didn't even know protocol. Like I showed up in shorts and I'm like walking around the ashram in shorts and like just like this backpacker with tattoos, and then after they're like, you can't wear shorts in here, and I was like, where am I? Like, and then it's like, and all of a sudden I'm like sitting in the front. I remember the first lecture I heard Swamiji speaking about Bhagavad Gita, and I was like, I like felt like I could melt in my chair because I'd been calling this in with God and like just asking for this for like
So
5 to 10 years and maybe
yeah.
many lives before also, but like it was like after the 3 months were done and you're like done, you'd done that schedule for so long consistently,
Mhm.
you
Yeah.
felt so different. And
Yeah.
then I was like, I had to study. I came back home and got a visa and then went back and did the 3 year course. And we were there the we basically started a 3-year course in the pandemic, at the
Yeah.
beginning of the
Okay.
pandemic. So the whole
Right.
pandemic, we were just in this pressure
Mm.
cooker because eventually they shut the doors and we couldn't go out for walks outside of the ashram and guests weren't coming in. So it's
Wow.
just like a ecosystem of just the ashram
Wow.
eventually.
It
Yeah,
was,
so that
I think, the best place we could be for the pandemic.
100%.
right. What an experience
Yeah. So
coupled with the pandemic. Yeah.
yeah, totally. But yeah, we I think we'll start to close out the
Yeah.
satsanga.
Thank you guys
guys-
for
Do you
coming.
guys have any final questions or anything?
No, I think, it was just nice to get an idea of, Melanie and I have spoken about, our past a little bit, but
Mhm.
I haven't really got to hear more of Kieran's story from the time he had left. So it was
Yeah.
nice to just catch up and kind of see where your journey took you over these years.
Mm.
Yeah. It was nice to actually hear about Auntie's experience too at the ashram.
Oh, and one thing I want to say, sometimes I'm late for temple and you can't let Swamiji see you're going to be late. And if I see Swamiji coming round the corner, I would hide behind a tree. And at this age, and I'm sure he's seeing me. It's
Swamiji
like,
sees
oh
everything.
my,
He knows
he sees
everything.
everything. And we used to get 45 minutes of Wi-Fi, and most times you can't get connection. So when you have a few minutes and you get Wi-Fi, it's
Yeah.
like Christmas,
Yeah.
because that's when I could phone your uncle or phone
Yeah.
anybody.
Yes.
It really was like
Wow.
military.
Yes. And especially at that age when, like, you've lived your whole life a certain way, and then you come into this ashram and you have a totally different experience.
Yes,
Yeah. Yeah.
honestly, it was beautiful. It really was. I have never been to university, but
Yeah.
I felt like I was in university because we had 67 students
Wow.
and they were from every part of the world.
Amazing.
Oh my goodness. So we had friends we take the bus, and in the bus, it would be like 10 different countries in that bus.
Mhm.
Wow.
Russia, France, Canada, England, US. It was like so, and everybody was our age, but I was the oldest in the group.
Wow.
Yeah, so I give myself a lot of credit. I didn't really
Absolutely.
get sick. I managed. I reached back home alive.
Yes. That's
Beautiful.
huge accomplishment.
Yes.
You had that opportunity. That's very, very lucky.
Yes. It's a blessing, really.
It's a blessing. Yes. Yeah.
But yeah.
Beautiful.
So thank you guys so much for your presence, and to
Yes.
anyone that might watch the recording as well. And
Yes. Thank you.
yeah, we have a
Thank you
lot.
guys for-
We have a lot coming up this year, so
Yeah.
we look forward to
Stay
working with you
tuned.
guys and sharing. And
Yeah, and our first yoga class will be next Wednesday, 6:30
Okay.
p.m., 8:30 p.m. your time. And I'm
Yes.
sending out the link and everything in the community group.
Okay.
So yeah.
Perfect.
Thank
Go
you.
from there.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you guys so much. You guys
Thank
take
you. It
care.
was beautiful.
Yeah.
Yes.
thank you guys.
Thank
Namaste.
you.
Namaste.
Just end with a prayer quick.
Okay.
Yes.
With a prayer quick. With a prayer.
No rushing the
No
prayers.
Yes.
Yeah.
Om
Swasti
Swasti Prajabhyah Paripalayantam Nyayena Margena Mahim Mahishaha Go Brahmanebhyah Shubhamastu Nityam Loka Samasta Sukhino Bhavantu Kale Varshatu Parjaniyaha Prithvi Sasya Shalini Desho Yangsho Bharanitaha Brahmana Santu Nirbhayaha Sarve Bhavantu Sukhinah Sarve Santu Niramayaha Sarve Bhadrani Pashyantu Ma Kaschit Dukkha Bhag Bhavet Asato Ma Sadgamaya Tamaso Ma Jyotirgamaya Mrityorma Amritam Gamaya Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate Om Shanti Shanti Shanti
Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.